This happened a few months ago. I decided to take a solo camping trip to escape the grind of my job. I was 32, a software engineer, mostly stuck behind a screen. I thought being out in nature would help me reconnect with myself. I set up my tent by a calm lake surrounded by tall pines. It felt peaceful, almost too peaceful. I've never stopped thinking about it since. The first night was quiet. I felt drowsy after a long drive. I zipped myself into my tent and closed my eyes. But then, I heard something. It was rustling outside. I thought it was just a deer or maybe a raccoon. The sounds didn't seem threatening. I tried to ignore it and drift back to sleep. I felt uneasy, like I wasn't really alone. My mind told me to check, but I didn't. I wanted to believe everything was fine. The next day, I explored the forest. I walked along the lake, thinking about my life and job. Everything felt stuck. I returned to my campsite, ready for another night of relaxing camping. As darkness washed over the trees, I felt more anxious. I made a fire and sat staring into the flames. The woods whispered, but I brushed it off as just the wind. Then, around midnight, I heard voices. They were faint, like a conversation echoing through the trees. I strained to listen but couldn't make out the words. I felt cold, like the air dropped a few degrees. I got up and walked toward the sounds. My heart raced with each step. I knew I shouldn't be wandering out here, but I thought maybe there was someone else nearby, maybe help. The voices faded, leaving behind a heavy silence. Unease crawled up my spine as I turned back to my tent. On my last day, I discovered strange symbols scratched into the dirt near my camp. They were swirling patterns I had never seen before. My stomach knotted as I looked closer. Everything felt wrong. I could hear the whispers again, more pronounced and unsettling. It was like they were calling my name. Was I imagining it? I couldn't shake the feeling that something was watching me. That evening, I packed my belongings, desperate to leave. I thought I could finally put those memories behind me, but the whispers didn't stop. They echoed in my mind, getting louder. "Turn back," they seemed to say. I shook my head. I told myself I was just tired, but a part of me wondered if I truly made it out. Then, at the bend in the road, I saw someone standing among the trees, just staring at me. My heart stopped. I blinked, and they were gone. I still don't know what happened that whole trip. I think about it often. I'm not sure if I imagined it all or if something really was out there with me. I thought I could put the trip behind me, but the memories haunted me. It was a few weeks later when everything came rushing back. I woke up in the middle of the night, drenched in sweat. The shadows in my room seemed thicker, the air colder. I couldn't shake the feeling of being watched. I tried turning on the TV, hoping the noise would drown out the whispers in my mind. I scanned the darkness surrounding me, expecting to see someone, but nothing moved, except for the trees swaying in the wind. I could just drive away, I thought, but a part of me felt anchored there, as if I had to confront whatever it was I had stirred up. I shook my head, trying to regain my focus. Reluctantly, I stepped out of the car and moved back toward the tent. Each step felt heavy, like I was walking through thick mud. The fire was still crackling. I hesitated, staring at the flames, thinking of my last few hours there. Safety, warmth, and familiarity felt miles away. I took a breath and turned to the woods, facing the same path I had run down earlier. The air felt thick with anticipation. Maybe I could find those figures again. Maybe they had answers. I walked cautiously, the flashlight beam cutting through the darkness. The muffled voices faded as I moved deeper into the forest, replaced by the rustle of leaves and distant animal calls. I felt small beneath the towering trees, swallowed by shadows. Just as I thought I was being foolish, my light caught something, a glint of silver between the bushes. Curiosity piqued, I stepped closer. It was a bracelet, delicate and worn, with intricate designs etched into the metal. I picked it up, inspecting it closely. The craftsmanship was unlike anything I had seen before, almost otherworldly. I wondered if it belonged to one of the cloaked figures. Was this a part of their world? A sudden noise jolted me. Twigs snapped nearby, and I turned the flashlight toward the sound. Nothing, just the endless black of the night. I was alone, or so I thought. I felt it again, a presence lurking just out of sight. Before I could question myself, I blurted, "Who's there?" The utter silence felt heavy. But then, laughter echoed softly, light and tinkling like wind chimes caught in a breeze. "Why are you seeking shadows?" a voice chimed, playful yet haunting. I spun around again, looking for the source, but I saw no one. "Show yourself!" I demanded, but my voice came out trembling. The laughter faded, replaced by the soft whispering from the woods. The echo of those cloaked figures haunted me still. Feeling the weight of the bracelet in my pocket, I pressed on. My heart raced, blending fear and exhilaration. I needed to know what all of this meant. Just as I decided to head back to my camp, I stumbled into another clearing. There, standing tall against the backdrop of the moonlit sky, was a stone altar covered in strange symbols. It pulsed with an energy that was undeniably alive. My breath hitched. "What is this?" I whispered, taking a cautious step forward. That's when I saw them again, the figures standing beside the altar, watching me with those penetrating eyes. Panic surged, and I wanted to run, but something stopped me. I realized they weren't here to harm me. They were guardians of something ancient, and I had just uncovered their secret. But just as clarity began to settle in my mind, the air around me thickened, and I could hear the urgent whispers growing louder, demanding my attention. I was in deeper than I ever intended, and I had just awakened something that might not be ready to rest. My hands shook as I stared at the figures surrounding the altar. Their cloaks swirled like shadows against the night, and I could see their faces more clearly now, sharp features that held wisdom and a hint of mischief. I glanced back at the altar, entranced by the symbols that glowed faintly in the dark. "What do you want from me?" I managed to say, my voice quivering. The laughter returned, bubbling up from one of the figures. It sounded almost comforting, but I wasn't sure if I could trust it. "Answers lie in the echoes," another voice said, their voice like a whisper of wind. "But answer this first. Why did you leave your path?" I took a step back. "I didn't mean to," I said, but the words felt weak. They felt like an excuse. The memories of why I had come to this place flooded back, an escape, a chance to breathe life into old wounds. "Then perhaps you were never meant to leave," another voice chimed in. The way they spoke made me feel trapped between their curiosity and their authority. Suddenly, the wind picked up, stirring leaves and branches around me. The atmosphere shifted. The figures leaned closer, their expressions growing serious. "You hold something that belongs to us," one said, pointing an elongated finger at my pocket. I instinctively clutched the bracelet, suddenly feeling its weight like a rock against my thigh. "What do you mean?" I asked, bewildered. I thought I had discovered it, not taken it from somewhere. The thought of it not being mine was uncomfortable. "You must return it. The balance must be restored." At that moment, an urgent chill raced down my spine. The air crackled with tension, thickening into something I couldn't quite grasp. "Where?" I asked, my heart pounding. "Where do I return it?" "Place it on the altar," another figure instructed, stepping forward. Their eyes glowed faintly, illuminating the darkness around us. Fear twisted in my chest. "What if I don't?" I asked impulsively, pushing back against an invisible force that curled around my thoughts. I felt trapped, questioning how much control I truly had in this situation. "Then the shadows will linger," they replied, almost in unison, their voices weaving together into an eerie harmony. "And you will be the one in darkness." The urgency in their words wrapped around me, squeezing tightly. I stared between the altar and the figures, their hope for the return glimmering in their gaze, and the weight of the bracelet felt heavy in my hand. They stood guarding the unknown, and I was caught in a web of choice. As I knelt beside the altar, taking a deep breath, I hesitated while lifting the bracelet. Just then, a flash of movement in the trees caught my eye. I turned, and my heart froze. Another figure emerged uninvited from the woods, a dark silhouette looming larger than the others. It was not dressed like the guardians. It appeared twisted, almost monstrous. The laughter turned to a hush, and suddenly I was not sure who would answer my questions. "Leave her be," the newcomer growled, sending a ripple of fear through me. My chance for answers slipped away as uncertainty gripped my heart. What had I awakened, and who was this new threat? The tension in the air thickened, almost suffocating me. I blinked at the new figure, trying to make sense of what I was seeing. Its eyes glinted like shards of glass under the moonlight, and its features were distorted. I took a step back, clutching the bracelet tighter, as if its warmth could protect me from the chaos encroaching on my presence. "Who are you?" I managed to ask, my voice shaky. More laughter rippled through the figures behind me, a sound that felt jagged and cold. "Just a friend," the monstrous figure replied, its voice low and gravelly, but the way it bent its limbs and twisted its body sent shivers down my spine. "More like a protector." "A protector?" I replied, incredulous. "Or a threat?" The air pulsed with an uneasy stillness. The guardians exchanged nervous glances, their earlier strength wavering. "This is not your fight," one of them said softly. "Leave her be, Rylath." "That's where you're wrong," Rylath sneered, taking a deliberate step forward. The ground seemed to tremble beneath it, and I fought the urge to run. What did it mean? I felt like a pawn in an unwritten game. "I didn't mean to touch anything," I blurted out, the bracelet burning in my palm. "I found it." "Found it?" Rylath's voice dripped with mockery. "She took it, is what you mean." Its gaze shifted to the others. "And you let her." The guardians flinched, their earlier strength wavering. "The balance must be restored," one insisted, but even their confidence seemed to dwindle under Rylath's ominous presence. I stumbled back toward the altar, my instincts screaming at me to run. "What do you want from me?" I asked, desperate for clarity amid the turmoil. Rylath chuckled, a low and disconcerting sound. "Only what you are willing to sacrifice." A flicker of movement caught my eye again. Out of the corner of my vision, something slithered along the ground, weaving through the trees. My heart raced at the sight. I turned my head fully, trying to identify the disturbance, but dread pooled in my stomach when I saw the shadows flickering and dancing around me. They were alive. "Don't look away, girl," one of the guardians warned, their voice urgent. "The shadows will take you if you do." Just as I felt the deep pull of fear drawing me down, Rylath lunged. The night air split with a sudden charge as it rushed forward, its grotesque form barreling toward me. I barely had time to react. My fingers loosened around the bracelet, letting it fall as I sidestepped and stumbled away from the altar. The moment the bracelet hit the ground, the air crackled with energy. A shimmer spread from the altar, illuminating the clearing and pushing back against the encroaching darkness. The figures straightened, their faces a mix of relief and determination. And then I realized this wasn't over. That sudden realization sent chills racing through me. I turned back to Rylath, who began to snarl as the shadows writhed closer. "Pick it up," it demanded, fierce and furious. Something crucial was coming to a head. I needed answers just as much as I needed to run, but every choice stirred deeper mysteries. I took a breath, preparing to decide my next move. Would I reclaim the bracelet, or would I find another way to confront whatever this was? Just then, the shadows surged forward into a whirl of chaos. The scream that tore from Rylath's throat echoed through the trees, and every heartbeat felt charged with impending doom. I had only a moment to act. I ducked, moving quicker than I thought possible. The shadows rushed past me, swirling like a storm. I could hear Rylath's furious growl mingling with a cacophony of whispers. They filled my mind, each word blending into the next, creating a symphony of panic. "Grab it! You'll need it!" one of the guardians shouted, breaking through the noise. I hesitated, torn between fear and a desperate need for clarity. The bracelet glowed faintly, stirring something deep within me. Was it simply an ornament now, or was it the key to unlocking the chaos around us? I glanced between the altar and Rylath, still battling with the shadows. My heart raced as I calculated my next move. I darted toward the bracelet. Every instinct told me to run. Shadows whipped around my ankles, tugging at my legs like cold hands gripping tight. I tried to shake them off, but they seemed to cling harder with each step I took. "Don't look back, just focus," another guardian urged, their eyes wide with fear. I glanced over my shoulder to see Rylath still tangled in the shadows, its snarls echoing through the night. My resolve hardened. I had to act, or we were all done for. I bent down and snatched up the bracelet, gripping it tightly in my palm. The warmth surged through me, filling the void of fear and uncertainty. I felt a strange pulse, a connection between me and the object that defied logic. It was as if the power emanated not just from the bracelet, but from within myself as well. "You have to do it now," a guardian shouted again, flinging their arms wide. "Channel it!" Just as I prepared to respond, the shadows tore away from Rylath, dissipating into the air like smoke blown by a fierce wind. Everything went still, and I held my breath. I didn't understand what was happening, but the calm before the storm felt heavy. Rylath turned its glare upon me, eyes wild. "You think this changes anything? You are merely delaying the inevitable." Suddenly the ground shook beneath us, cracks splintered the earth, and the altar trembled. I barely had time to react as the guardians staggered back, their faces filled with dread. The pulsing of the bracelet intensified, flooding me with awareness. That's when I saw it. From the shadows, a figure emerged, merging with the darkness in a way that made my skin crawl. It looked like Rylath, but its features shimmered and shifted, morphing into something even more terrifying. I could barely comprehend what I was witnessing. Was it a reflection of Rylath's true form, or a manifestation of something more sinister? With urgency swelling in my chest, I clutched the bracelet tighter. The shadows coiled around Rylath's new form, and I suddenly sensed a flicker of vulnerability within it. A connection sparked in my mind, urging me to act now. I had to find a way to turn the tide. With a surge of courage, I stepped forward, ready to confront whatever this was, ready to face the dark reflection head-on. But as I did, everything went dark. My eyes fluttered open again, but the world around me was a muddy, inky black. I could barely feel the ground beneath me, and my heart thudded loudly in my chest. Panic gripped me. Had I fainted? Was I dreaming? I tried to sit up, but felt weightless, as if suspended in a void. Then a distant noise broke through the silence, a faint whispering that felt all too familiar. I couldn't understand the words, but the tone chilled me to the bone. It was a chorus, haunting and distraught. "Help us! Find us!" I squeezed the bracelet in my hand, desperate for some sort of anchor. The warmth pulsed again, and suddenly a shimmer of light flickered. Shapes began to materialize around me, outlines forming into something solid. The figure that had terrified me moments ago loomed impossibly close, its features twisting and turning like shadows in a firelight. "Why do you resist?" the creature rasped, its voice a blend of Rylath and the whispers. It seemed to dance between forms, a surreal montage of paleness and darkness. I scrambled backward, but a surge of energy shot through me, as if connecting me to the otherworldly presence. "You need to listen," I stammered, fighting against the sense of dread. "Who are you? What do you want?" For a moment, the creature paused, and the shadows coiling around it receded slightly. "I am what lies beneath your world. I am your fear made flesh." "Am I supposed to be afraid of you?" I challenged, feeling the bracelet's warmth intensifying with my rising anger. "You think I'll submit?" The creature chuckled, like a sound of dry leaves rustling. "Submission is not required. Acceptance is key." A jolt coursed through me then, drawing my focus back to Rylath, who stood on the fringes of the darkness. The creature's momentary distraction provided the opening I needed. I focused on the bond between the bracelet and myself, searching for the strength to fight back. "Rylath," I called out, my voice trembling yet firm. "You have to fight this!" Rylath's eyes widened. A flicker of recognition sparked within them, but the dark figure lunged forward, smoke and shadow merging with its limbs, threatening to engulf Rylath entirely. "Do you really think you can save him?" the creature sneered, its face rippling with contempt. "Rylath is already lost." "No!" I shouted, feeling the bracelet nearly burning in my palm. I closed my eyes and concentrated, envisioning the light within, a power waiting to be released. "I won't let you take him!" The bracelet flared. Light burst forth, cutting through the darkness like a knife, dispelling the shadows wrapping around Rylath. The creature shrieked, its form quivering violently as if the brightness exposed it to the sun. But just as victory seemed within reach, the ground trembled again, and the shadows began to reform. They covered everything, swirling threateningly. Then I felt an unexpected tug at my wrist. Slowly, the bracelet cracked in my grip, sending shards scattering like stars. As the darkness clawed back, I struggled against the inevitable, but the world was spinning, the shadows closing in again. Then, in an instant, everything went white. My eyes opened to blinding brightness. I blinked hard, trying to regain my senses. For a few moments, all I could do was lay there, disoriented, the brightness hurting my eyes. Finally, the light dimmed, and the shapes around me came into focus. I was in a clearing, surrounded by trees. Where was I? The last thing I remembered was the darkness closing in. I pushed myself into a sitting position and noticed the remnants of the shattered bracelet scattered on the ground. Panic surged through me again. Had that been real? "Rylath," I called out, my voice trembling. There was no reply, only the rustling of leaves in the slight breeze. It felt odd being in the serene setting after the chaos I'd just experienced. "Rylath!" Suddenly, a shiver ran down my spine. Something wasn't right. I felt watched. I turned slowly, scanning the tree line, but there was nothing there. Only the mundane sounds of nature surrounded me. Yet the whispers from before had returned, faint but insistent, echoing around me. "Find us," they beckoned. I stood shakily, glancing around for a way out. I needed to get to safety, wherever that might be. I took a step forward, heart racing, when I heard a crack behind me. I spun around, instinctively ready to confront whatever lurked there. A figure emerged from the shadows, cloaked in dark fabric that seemed to absorb rather than reflect light. Its movement was smooth, gliding effortlessly as it approached. "Who are you?" I shouted, backing away. "I am the guide," it replied, in a voice that eroded my confidence. It wasn't threatening, but it felt deeply unsettling. "I've come to offer direction." "Direction?" "I don't need your help." Anger surged within me. "I just want to find Rylath." It chuckled, a low, raspy sound. "Rylath is lost in ways you cannot imagine, but listen carefully, and perhaps you can still reach him." The figure raised a hand, and I instinctively flinched. You must first understand the journey ahead. I don't care about any journey. Just tell me where Ryleth is. Before it could respond, the sounds of whispers grew louder, swirling around us. They seemed to emanate from the forest itself, filling the air with urgency. The figure paused, its amusement fading. Time is running short, and the darkness lingers. I felt something tugging at my awareness, the connection I had felt with the bracelet offering a lingering warmth. What darkness? I asked, my resolve wavering. The darkness you encountered is but a fragment of what lies ahead. If you wish to protect him, you must accept the truth of your path. Each word seemed to knot tighter around me, squeezing the air from my lungs. Enough with the riddles, I snapped, this time my voice steadier. Are you going to help me or not? With a flick of its wrist, the figure gestured towards the deeper forest. Follow the path. Your answers lie within. But know this, every step is a choice, and the consequences are yours to bear. As the figure faded back into the shadows, I wrestled with a new wave of anxiety. I didn't trust this guide, but there was no other option. The whispers beckoned. I needed to move. Whatever awaited me, I had to find Ryleth. Just as I turned to leave, I heard the crunch of feet behind me. I spun around, heart pounding. Someone was there, watching me from the tree line, and I wasn't alone anymore. My eyes flitted around the shadows, searching for the source of the noise. I took a cautious step forward, heart racing, adrenaline coursing through my veins. The figure was still there, cloaked in the murky darkness so that I could barely make out any features. "Who are you?" I called out again, my voice a mix of defiance and fear. "Show yourself!" A moment passed, but the figure didn't move. Instead, it shifted its weight slightly, a small rustling sound coming from the fabric. I swallowed hard, my throat dry. "Are you another guide? Another trick?" A soft chuckle came from the figure, and with it, the rustling turned into a low whisper that echoed around me. "Not a trick, my dear, but perhaps an opportunity." An opportunity? I had no idea whether that was a good thing or not. I was ready to bolt, to run away from whatever threat loomed in the shadows. But the whispers grew louder, wrapping around me, drawing my interest even as my instincts screamed to flee. "Stop it!" I shouted, but the whispers persisted, urging me closer to the figure. It reached out a hand, fingers splayed, and I felt an inexplicable pull, as if I were being magnetized to it. With a shaky breath, I took another step forward. "What do you want?" Just as the figure stirred the silent air with anticipation, a sharp crack sounded behind me. I whirled, half expecting to see Ryleth. Instead, another figure emerged, shaped like the first, but cloaked in a brilliant white. I could feel an uneasy energy flowing from it as I took in its uncertain stance. "Stay back," the white figure said, its voice lighter than the last, yet vibrant with urgency. "You mustn't listen to him." I was torn. Here I stood with two choices, the cloaked figure with its promises of direction and the stark figure warning me against it. Each held an energy that was palpable. "Who are you?" I demanded, trying to mask my fear with authority. "I am a protector," the bright figure replied, tension hanging in the air. "You do not want to tread that path. There are secrets in the dark, and they are not meant for your eyes." "Secrets?" I echoed, heart racing faster. My instincts told me to retreat, but desperation for Ryleth pushed me forward. "Secrets? What does that mean? Is this about him?" The two figures exchanged glances. For a brief moment I swore I felt the air shift, a bond forming between them. Then the white figure stepped forward defiantly. "Focus on what you truly seek. Ryleth is not lost. He's caught between what you can see and what lies hidden. You must remember what you felt." Then everything went quiet. The whispers fell away, and for that eerie silence I realized something. The shadows had grown tighter around me. Before I could gather my thoughts, my legs gave away beneath me, the world around me blurring. That was when I saw it, a flicker of light deep in the woods, pulsing gently like a heartbeat. With a jolt, my instincts kicked in. I had to run. I tore myself from the two figures, pushing through the underbrush toward the light, leaving their voices behind. The emptiness of the woods swallowed me whole as I sprinted forward, my heart pounding louder than ever. While I ran, the question lingered. What other revelations awaited me in the unknown? The path twisted and turned, but that flicker was calling. I had to reach it. Then came another crack, louder this time, like thunder rapidly approaching. I froze, dread pooling in my gut. I wasn't alone, not just the two figures. Something else was coming. I could feel something looming behind me, something old and malevolent creeping through the trees. My breath caught in my throat as I forced myself to move forward. The light pulsed ahead, vibrant and inviting, a beacon in the encroaching darkness. But the muffled whispers returned, more frantic this time, warnings and cries, their urgency thickening the air around me. I picked up speed, desperate to reach the light before the shadows made their move. The underbrush clung to my ankles like hands trying to pull me back. Every whisper felt like a reminder of the choices I had made, choices that had led me to this very moment. Suddenly, I burst into a clearing. My heart raced as I stopped short, eyes widening. In the center stood not just any light, but an ethereal glow emanating from a pool of water, shimmering like liquid silver. It mesmerized me, drawing me in like a moth to a flame. "Rylath!" I called out, though I wasn't sure he would hear me. I half-expected shadows to rise up and snuff out this light. But there was only silence, save for the gentle lapping of water against the shore. I felt a magnetic pull to the pool, the light washing over me, making the shadows retreat just beyond its reach. Cautiously, I approached the water's edge. It was impossibly still, reflecting the moonlight and the canopy overhead. I knelt down, peering into the depths, searching for any sign of Rylath. The reflected trees danced in the water, their shapes odd and twisted, almost mocking. The moment felt charged, heavy with foreboding. Then, as if parting the veil between worlds, I glimpsed a figure at the bottom of the pool, a silhouette drifting, its form fluid and indeterminate. My heart sank even deeper. Was that him? "Rylath, if you can hear me, I'm here!" I shouted again, desperation seeping into my voice. But again, silence enveloped me. Suddenly, there was a rustle behind me. I turned, and there he was, a shadow emerging from the trees. But this shadow bore Rylath's form, his features hazy yet distinguishable, like a fading dream. "You have to leave!" Rylath's voice rang out, urgent and pleading, but his figure wavered, flickering like a faulty bulb. "No, I'm not leaving you!" I cried, feeling the pull of the water surging stronger with each passing moment. "What happened? What's happening?" "Don't look into the water," he warned, though his voice sounded distorted, swallowed by the shadows gathering just behind him. "It's a trap. You're part of something vast, something you don't understand." The shadows aligned, forming a twisted mass behind Rylath. The darkness coalesced into that grotesque figure I had seen before, Rylath's features melding into an essence of confusion and anger. "You shouldn't have come back," it rasped, the voice echoing Rylath's, but laced with something more sinister. "No, I'm not afraid of you," I shouted, grappling for control amidst rising panic. The pool shimmered with energy, the reflection rippling as if responding to Rylath's distress. "Choose," Rylath urged, his form becoming less distinct. "You must choose, the light or the darkness." In that instant, I understood. The pool stirred with a choice: stay and drown in uncertainty, or let the light guide me toward an unknown truth. I clutched the air, contemplating the weight of the bracelet that lay shattered in the grass behind me. The darkness swayed closer, ready to consume. "Fight!" I screamed at Rylath, but the malignant figure moved against him, forcing him back into the shadows. "Choose!" Rylath shouted again, his voice cracking. "You cannot save me! Save yourself!" Overwhelmed by the gravity of my decision, I surged forward instinctively. "I won't let you go!" I lunged for the pool, yearning for whatever truth might slumber within. As my hands dipped into the cool surface, energy sparked through me. The light enveloped my whole being, illuminating the dark corners of my mind. I felt the weight of choice pressing down, but even in that blinding radiance, the darkness clamored to reclaim what it felt was rightfully its. "Embrace the light," the echoes begged. "You hold the key." I focused with every fiber of my being, summoning the brightness that flared in my chest. The whispers transformed into a harmonious crescendo, guiding me through whatever this was, a battle against what could break me or free me. But Rylath faded further away from my grasp, and dread swelled in my heart. With one final grasp, I yelled, "I choose the light!" and plunged deeper into the pool. A blinding flash consumed me, then blackness erupted. I found myself again in a clearing, but this time alone, as if pulled through a sieve of reality. The taste of damp air filled my lungs, a soft rustle echoing through the trees. I took a shaky breath and looked around. The moon hung high in the night sky, and the whispers had quieted, though an unsettling silence persisted. There was no water, no cloaked figures, only the remnants of a chilling memory. A weight settled heavily upon my shoulders as I turned slowly in a circle. "Rylath?" I called, but my voice felt small against the empty night. From the shadows, a figure stepped forward. My heart leapt, clenching tightly as I hesitated. Was it him? But as the figure emerged into the moonlight, it came into view, torn and twisted, a shadow of the Rylath I had fought for. "Why did you leave?" The voice was soft, echoing the questions I had heard before. It wasn't a start, nor an end, but a perpetual loop, the darkness and light winding together again. There would be no answers tonight, only the memories of choices made and those yet to come. As I took a step back, the figure blurred into the shadows, leaving me with a lingering sense of unease. I would leave this forest, return home, but the questions that plagued my mind would follow. Was Rylath truly lost, or was this a lesson I had yet to learn? I may never know. The night air was crisp as I trudged away from the clearing, the whispers faint but perpetually haunting my thoughts. I would navigate this new reality, but echoes of the past would always linger, faint reminders that we choose our paths, even when the way ahead remains shrouded in shadows.